Well, we have one more local author to talk to, and David Thomas Jarecki is going to be at the local author fair next week, and you do something a little different than the other, which that we've talked to so far, as writing satire.
Yes.
And you haven't just been at this a little time. You originally wrote your first book in '94, and then you did the book of prose, dreams, and poetry in '98. How did you get in? When did you realize, okay, I have these ideas, I'm going to go for it and write an entire book?
Well, when I was younger, when I was about 16, my mother got me a film camera, and I used to make all these movies with friends and just goofy stuff, having a good time. And then everybody started getting jobs and girlfriends, and I still needed a creative outlet, so I kind of just focused on the page and started writing stuff down. For the planet Ostrogoth, it's about a rock band, like the mock rock genre, like the Monkees, Spinal Tap, and that kind of thing, Tenacious D. And so me and a couple friends, we had always joked around about a band. We actually made songs, and then when we stopped doing it, we always made up this history for the band. We had these different albums and different things, and kind of just joked around about it. And then I was like, you know what? Let me write this down. And then when I did that, I decided to turn it into a satire of celebrity life, the lifestyle, the self-righteous attitude, and the excess, and it was a lot of fun.
And that was your first book. You wrote in '94.
Yes.
And I don't know. I think how old were you at that point?
Probably about 18, 19 is when I started it.
I would think you look back to things you did when you were 18, 19, like, I don't know if that holds up when I'm, 10, 15 years older. Does it for you?
Yeah, I'm ignorant that way, where I look back and I still think it's funny. I mean, I'll crack open any page of that book and I'll just start laughing, and on the back of the book I call it a laugh a sentence satire, and that's actually one of the virtues and flaws of the book is there's really no build up for a lot of the jokes. So I don't know that it would be weird for an author to say this book is great, but it's not a page turner, because it really isn't. You couldn't sit down and just read it on end. It's probably more of something to keep in the bathroom and
you flip through every once in a while.
Take it in increments,
That's my style. It's good to be honest that your book is more of a bathroom style.
Yes. If there was a coffee table in the bathroom, I'd say put it on there.
So it's a history of a band that you've invented.
Yes. Yeah.
And how long is the book?
It's about 180 pages.
Okay, so 180 pages on a band that you made up.
Yes.
And you made up their histories.
Mm-hmm.
Any of them local people in the band?
Yeah, I have two friends that I went to high school with, Brett Myrick and Tony Lamore, and we were the ones that kind of started doing it. And like I said, once we stopped making the songs, we made up this history, and then I kind of elaborated on the history we made up to write the book.
So in the history, but in real life, the people are local. Are they local in the way they're written?
Yeah, there's the town North Hettenham in that book, and it's kind of like Mantino.
Oh, okay. Okay, North Hettenham.
Just like Mantino.
We're breaking the code here.
Yeah. Secrets revealed. Yeah.
So, what did you went back and you updated this recently, right?
Yes, yes.
So the book that will be at the local author fair will be the updated version?
Correct.
So
bring up to date the band and what they've been up to and that kind of stuff?
No, when I first wrote it, I wrote it around the time, because I spent many years, I dipped in and out of it. I started in '94, but when the Beatles anthology came out and I watched it, the BBC version, which was like 8 hours long, and looking at all their stories and the way they, and I love the Beatles, but sometimes they just made things more important than they really were, or had like a self-righteousness about it. So it was more of it was more of an anthology of stories, and I tried to make it a little bit more linear and have a story. It still doesn't quite have that, but that's part of the charm of the book, though, in a way. The book has like the recaps of how their albums were made. It has little snippets of songs, and then basically the lead singer kind of just going over his egotistical, we're great, and that's all there is to it.
And they had a big feud.
Yeah.
Every band does, right?
Yeah.
They ever argue over lyrics?
No, they more argue over stupid stuff like travel back to their home planet.
Yeah. There's a home planet involved.
Oh, they're from another planet.
Yeah, and that angle, when you read the book, that angle kind of comes from like Led Zeppelin, where they were like mystics and they had all this mystical stuff going on, and they, kind of play that idea up. So, I mean, I would leave it to the reader to say, is this real or is this like a hallucinogenic kind of fantasy of the self-righteousness of the band?
Again, like Mantino, kind of another planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, change of course for your second book, the 1910. That is there a common theme that goes through that?
Yeah, I got North Vietnam in there, probably in every book I write. And I guess the common thing is for both books, I'm basically just breakdancing with the English language. It's, just throwing words together, seeing what's there, seeing if I can form something out of it. And this book is really, it's 1990-10 and it's 199X. And I like the title and it fits the style of the book because it's like a variable. And it's kind of like the language and the stories that are in there. It's kind of constructed like a journal. And it goes day by day through that year. Not every day of the year, but different like journal entry type things, and it's little stories, prose, poems, like prayer type things, and it's all kind of like Zen oriented, kind of just thinking outside the box and different things. There's a loose thread of a story in there for anybody that wanted to find it, but other than that, you could kind of take them each in their own little increments.
So breakdancing with the English language, I never realized there's partners in breakdancing.
Oh yeah.
All right. So is the English language like the cardboard you're breakdancing on?
It's probably the parachute pants I'm wearing.
Yeah.
So,
and the title of that book is?
The title of that book is 1910.
1990-10?
1990-10.
Yeah, it's like a year. It's
a fictional, futuristic, or?
No, not futuristic. I think when I was finishing writing it up and putting the title together, I think I originally called it 1990 Zen because I just started reading like Zen philosophies and things like that. And so I kind of wanted to write a book of Zen. I was really inspired by Jack Kerouac, who actually wrote a book called The Scripture of the Golden Eternity. And it was like his little book of Zen. And then he also wrote a book called Book of Dreams, and he had a lot of his dreams written down. And I thought, what a neat idea. And at the time I was working on a poetry book, so I was trying to I didn't want to write two poetry books that were just collections of poems. So this one was going to be more like little Zen like stories, some poetry and stuff like that. And I wanted to have a little thread in there, so I did it over the course of a year. And I think the year can be taken as just like a year in a life, or as a lifetime that just kind of loosely fitted into a year. And the way some of the stories go and things that happen, and the way it's kind of arranged, kind of works that way. But yeah, it's just a fun way to look at it. And when I did finish writing, the first draft was 1999. And I changed the title to 1990-10 because we were right on the millennium and we had the Y2K scare and everything. So it's like, what comes after 1999? Is it going to be nothing? Is it going to be something different? So that was kind of the original idea there.
David Thomas Jarecki, one of the authors that will be on hand, one of 50 authors at the local author fair at the Kankakee Public Library next Saturday from 10 o'clock to 2. And as somebody, I don't know if you ever listen to the program here, but, every once in a while I'll interview a letter of the alphabet. And, it's
kind of swing dances with the language.
And the question I had, what does your family think of this? Like my family kind of just rolls their eyes when I interview letters of the alphabet. What does your family think of what you've done? Your family and friends. What do they understand some of what you? Because really, what I see in what you're doing is that you're doing things that entertain you and that you get some pleasure out of. Regardless, there's a certain segment of the population who's not going to understand the idea of a mock band and writing their history, but there's also someone who's going to say, "This is awesome."
Yeah, and it was real hard to give my mom the Ostrogoth book, but then tell her not to read it because there's a lot of vulgarity, misogyny, and the excess there. But most people kind of get a good laugh out of the Ostrogoth. 1990-10, those that have read it have basically scratched their heads. And even people that get some of it are still like, some of this is really too far out to get, and some of it's meant to be gotten, some of it's not. But eventually I'll write something people can read.
Yeah, oh no, but there's
Still worries about being accepted when he writes.
Yeah.
Something,
No,
he's got to be normal because he represents the whole town.
Everyone, yeah.
Yeah, and
pressure on him.
It's there are other things I've written and things I'm working on that kind of meet halfway, but these ones don't.
So